Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm going to be interviewing Allie, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, Allie, have you ever said something to a person with differences in ableism that you rethought after the fact, and what would you have said or done differently if you could go back in time?
I don't remember saying anything to anyone, but I used to get frustrated a lot in high school whenever the kids who had like crutches or wheelchairs would take up the whole ramp and wouldn't allow like other kids to get to class on time. And I shouldn't get frustrated because they need the time to get to class too, but it was just irritating. So.
Okay. When you were growing up, can you remember any experiences in which someone of varying abilities was treated differently than you? And then how would a teacher in the current time respond more appropriately if that were to happen again?
Um, there was a guy in my grade who had some kind of disease. I can't remember what it was. But he had crutches, and it was hard for him to walk. And other students would kick his crutches out from under him, make fun of him, um, and they're just really mean. And I feel like teachers now are pretty good about like setting rules and stuff for other kids in their class, but they should choose more educational content that embraces people with disabilities so their peers aren't looking at them as different. Mm-hmm. So they should be more accepting in that area.
Okay. How has the idea, terminology, or the public perception regarding those with ableist challenges changed in your lifetime, and how?
I feel like they have changed, but I think it's more mental, I guess, now than physical, because a lot of people have mental issues now, along with physical, but mental is all you hear about right now, so that's how I think it's changed.
Mm-hmm. And then in any of the text or videos or websites that we've looked at, was there one idea that you didn't agree with or you were unsure about?
I didn't agree with that the privileged group prefers to live segregated from the minoritized group. I don't think able-bodied people really want to be separated from those with a disability, or do they care to be? I feel like a lot of people now are accepting. So that's just one thing I don't think is right anymore.
Okay.
Okay, now I'll ask you a question. Have you ever said something to a person with differences in ableism that you rethought after the fact? Would you have said or done anything differently that if you could go back in time?
I can't think of anything off of the top of my head that I have done differently, but after reading the chapter and kind of watching the videos that we have, I do think that I have either praised or like been inspired by those with disabilities doing normal everyday tasks when it wasn't necessarily needed or wanted. I think that was one of the eye-opening things is watching that video and saying just a normal task isn't something that's like an amazing feat. And so just to, in a way, be treated more normal for doing a normal thing.
Yeah, I feel like we're made to praise them when they do something normal.
Yes.
When you were growing up, can you remember any experiences in which someone of varying abilities was treated differently than you? How would a teacher in the current time respond more appropriately if that were to happen again?
I don't know if I remember a specific example of any different treatment, or at least not anything negative. Again, there may have been like that positive treatment that may have been like a little more standoutish than it should have been, but nothing particularly negative. I do think, though, that it has changed. I think currently teachers are required to make a lot more of those accommodations for those students than they ever have been before. I think that that's really pushed, especially now in school, and for teachers that any type of needs that have to be met for the student, for them to have that equal education is more in place now than it was before.
How has the idea, terminology, or public perception regarding those with ableist challenges changed in your lifetime? How?
I think one of the biggest things that I've seen change in my lifetime is the terminology. I think that there was some inappropriate terminology that was used a lot when I was growing up that was kind of just like brushed off or looked over. And I think now there's a lot more awareness into what is actually appropriate to say, what's socially acceptable to say, and I see a lot less of that demeaning terminology being used.
Yes, I agree. Pick one idea in the text, ableism videos, or website that you do not agree with or you are unsure about.
The one thing that I was still a little unsure how I felt about it was the video talking about movie casting and where they would cast able-bodied actors and actresses to play the characters of somebody with a disability. And the argument there was that they needed to hire someone with that actual disability. My thoughts on that are, while yes, that would be ideal, I do think even just taking the disability factor out of it, you want, when you are doing a large movie like that the acting quality has to be there too. And so I'm not always convinced that the acting quality would be there if you put in someone with the disability. I feel like they would be getting that position only because of the disability and not because of what talent they have with acting. For the most part, I feel like movies have done a good job of portraying disabilities, and I think the underlying message that those movies are trying to put out is still a good thing, and I can appreciate that they are representing those with disabilities. So I'm not sure that I agree with the negative attitude towards those movies and their casting choices. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.